Welcome back for another video. Time to catch up with the experts for GW22. If you're new to this series, every week a bunch of top all-time managers submit their transfers, captain, chip usage, game week tips, and we also look at the experts team. If you'd like to follow this series throughout the season, hit subscribe. Starting with the manager highlight, and for the first time this season, FPL Flair has taken the top spot in the Experts League, with a score of 77 points placing him at 3.2k overall. Well done if you managed to beat the Experts' average score of 66, which was about 20 above the global average. Interestingly, Flair has held on to Salah and Son. He's got some big decisions to make this week. Ben Coleman got the biggest score among the experts with 94 points. So this week, 39% are roll on the transfer, 54% spending one transfer, and 7% making two moves. No managers making more than two this week, and no chips active. If you don't have Haaland in your team, and you need two transfers to get to him, the sensible play will be to roll this week if possible. He's likely to be the best captain, assuming he's fit for Brentford in Game Week 23. We've seen him in a number of training pictures already, so he must be very close to returning. Could even be this game week. So are any of the experts picking Haaland up this week? Here's their top transfers in and out for Game Week 22. Only one's bringing Haaland in this week. The top transfer in is De Bruyne, interestingly, with 19% picking him up. Haaland wasn't in Man City's FA Cup squad, and the expectation is that he probably gets some minutes off the bench before a start, though that might not be the case of course. If you haven't got him, it might be a transfer to delay a week. When it comes to De Bruyne, we know what he's capable of, and he's a perfectly good pick if you're willing to accept the risk of a couple of benchings between now and Game Week 26. City have got a packed schedule in February with no midweeks off. They've got 7 games all month. It's a tricky period to navigate for all of us. 42% are selling Salah, who we know is injured at the moment, and Egypt have just been knocked out of AFCON, so that's no longer a factor. The question is, if you get De Bruyne, can you still afford Salah, Haaland and Trent? De Bruyne's going to be a differential in comparison, so if you feel he can match or outscore any of those three, then it's fine to make that sacrifice. Jamie Piggott famously won FPL a couple of years ago by picking De Bruyne over Salah post-AFCON. Liverpool's double Game Week 25 isn't confirmed, but it's about 90% likely now. We might even get an announcement before the deadline. They would play Brentford away and Luton home, so a really juicy double game week for Liverpool if it happens. City's double Game Week 25 is confirmed, and they're both home games against Chelsea and Brentford, so adding an attacker to your team like De Bruyne or Foden's got huge upside. Foden is the second top transfer with 13% transferring him in. 4% have picked up Walker, and with the best clean sheet odds this week, he's also the best of the bunch in City's defence at 5.4 mil. 12% have picked up Jota off the back of his 19-pointer last game week. When he plays, he's absolute gold. No one's returning at a higher rate than him at the moment. 12 returns coming every 62 minutes on average this season. We've also got Game Week 26 postponements confirmed. Chelsea, Liverpool, Luton and Spurs all blank. And this is where it gets tricky for a lot of us. We've all got players that will blank there. And Liverpool double literally the week before, so you're gaining a fixture in Game Week 25 and then losing one in Game Week 26. So check how many players you've got blanking and what you can afford to do with your team. Ideally, you need to avoid a scenario where you get to Game Week 26 and you only got 9 or 10 players playing. 6% are picking the Stupinan up, 4% buying Richarlison despite the blank. Spurs do have good games before Game Week 26, and they are confirmed not to blank in Game Week 29, which will be the biggest blank of the season. We've got the up-to-date Game Week 29 blank percentages from Ben Crellin. Fulham will play Spurs, Burnley will play Brentford, and the rest is dependent on FA Cup results, and is projected to be about 5.3 games. The good news is that Arsenal and Chelsea are the next likeliest to play in Game Week 29, who've got lots of popular assets between them. The likes of Pedro Porro, Richarlison, Son, Tony, Pinnock, even Foster will be useful assets. The FA Cup 5th round draw is out. There's a lot of Premier League teams that avoided one another, which could equate to a massive blank in 29. The picture will be clear after those games are played at the end of February. On paper, the game week might scream free here, but if there's so many blanks and you've really got handy assets like Saka, Richarlison, Pedro Porro, Palmer, then riding it out with less than 11 players could be the play. If you need a cheap enabler to get the likes of De Bruyne, Salah and Haaland in the coming weeks, a couple of experts are picking up Eze and Garnacho, who both have solid fixtures ahead. They don't blank in 26. Eze's 6 mil and on penalties, Garnacho's 4.8 mil. Garnacho's been playing every game at the moment, and with a rumoured disciplinary issue for Rashford, that should cement his spot even further. Captaincy's a tough one this week. Let's see how the experts are weighing in. The most captain player is Foden with 39% of the vote, followed by Alvarez with 25%, Richarlison with 18%, and then De Bruyne with 12%. Very divided this week, which will only be a good thing if we get it right. 3 are captain in Saka, and then Watkins and Haaland captained by one manager each. Let's have a look at the raw goal scorer odds, which assume the player starts, and obviously that might not be the case for some players here. Haaland is comfortably top with 63%. It's obvious that he's the best captain if starting, but the question is, will he start? Given that only one expert's captaining him, the majority don't think so. Alvarez is second on the goal scorer odds, given a 41.5% chance, and then Darwin, Watkins and Eze. Richarlison's got the best goal scorer odds among midfielders with 37%, an important factor given the extra point per goal and the potential clean sheet point. Let's pull up FPL Review's projections with that all factored in, plus the expected minutes of each player. They've got Alvarez marginally top, with Richarlison second, Foden third, Saka, Watkins, Eze and Darwin among the top projections as well. Let us know in the comments who your captain is this week. Moving on to the experts team for Gameweek 22, using the most owned players across all their teams to build the template. It's Areola in goal, Estupiñán, Pedro Porro and Trent in defence. In midfield, Foden, Palmer, Saka and Richarlison, Watkins, Solanke and Alvarez the front three. The bench is Dubravka, Gabriel, Taylor and Salah. Very well set up this week, even with Gabriel on the bench. A lot of us do have benching dilemmas this week, like whether to start Gordon or Gabriel, or Palmer or Solanke etc. It's generally good practice to favour the attacker, especially when they're the penalty taker like Palmer and Solanke. It's going to be intriguing to see which players they back for Double Gameweek 25 as it nears, so make sure you subscribe to follow the experts' picks. As it stands, they've got 2 City and 2 Liverpool players in the team, and I'm wondering, will they go for Tony? Watkins is the most owned player in the experts team with 98% ownership. Although he's blanked a fair bit recently, Villa still have the fixtures. Palmer's their second most owned player with 97% ownership, and then Saka, Pedro Porro and Solanke. Although we said only one's captain in Haaland, it's worth noting he's only in a few experts teams. As always, let's wrap up with the experts tips and insights sent in to us this week. Marco says, after the longest game week in history, we're finally back. With so many critical weeks of FPL ahead, the decisions we make now could have massive implications in our seasons. Someone much wiser than me once said, fail to prepare, then prepare to fail, and that preparation will help you climb the ranks. Matt Brooks says, now is the time to start thinking about chip strategy, with triple captain and free hit both potentially good choices in 25 or 26 or 29. Haaland and Salah injury updates certainly haven't made planning easy, but I feel this could be a decisive 3 to 4 week spell in the FPL season. Forza Inter says, every year there comes a point in the season, usually somewhere between game weeks 21 to 34, where the only way I can begin to even remotely see a way for my team through the fog is to create a colour-coded spreadsheet. We have reached that point this week. For the next 24 hours I'm going to get absolutely no bloody work done for my real life and instead assume a Neo-like Matrix existence, manipulating mids and forwards instead of ones and zeros. Good luck this week to everyone. For the record, I've just taken the red pill. I'll see you on the other side in Game Week 27. FPL Addict says, currently planning on rolling, but I could even take a hit if there's news Haaland starting. Likely Richarlison captain, although I'm quite tempted by Foden. FPL Sean says, as things stand, I'm happy to hold off on Haaland and De Bruyne for now. I will move for Haaland if we get clear news. And lastly, Benjamin Age says, in the words of Shakespeare, to hold or not to hold Salah, that is the question. Thanks very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like to support the channel and make sure you're subscribing. We'll be live for the deadline on Tuesday. See you then.